Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Text 1. Arjuna Uvacha. Ye Shastra Vidimutssrujya Yajante Shraddhayanvitaha Tesham Nishtha tu ka Krishna Satvamaho Rajastamaha.
Arjuna inquired, O Krishna, what is the situation of those who do not follow the principle of scriptures, but worship according to their own imagination? Are they in goodness, in passion, or in ignorance?
Text 2. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Trividha bhavati shraddha dehinam sa svabhavaja satviki rajasi chaiva tamasi cheti tam shunu.
The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, according to the mode of nature acquired by the embodied soul, one's faith can be of three kinds, in goodness, in passion, or in ignorance. Now hear about this.
Text 3. सत्त्वानुरूपा सर्वस्य श्रद्धा भवति भारत श्रद्धामयोऽयं पुरुषो यो यच्छ्रद्धः स एव सः.
O son of Bharata, according to one's existence under the various modes of nature, one evolves a particular kind of faith. The living being is said to be of a particular faith according to the modes he has acquired.
Text 4. यजन्ते सात्विका देवान् यक्षराक्षांसि राजसाः प्रेतान् भूतगणांश्चान्ये यजन्ते तामसजनः.
Men in the mode of goodness worship the demigods. Those in the mode of passion worship the demons. And those in the mode of ignorance worship ghosts and spirits.
Texts 5 and 6. अशास्त्र विहितं घोरं तप्यन्ते ये तपो जनः दम्बाहंकार संयुक्तः कबला कर्तशिरस्थ सः मां चैवान्त शरीरस्थं तान् विद्यासुरनिश्चयान्.
Those who undergo severe austerities and penance, not recommended in the scriptures, performing them out of pride and egoism, who are impelled by lust and attachment, who are foolish, and who torture the material elements of the body as well as the super soul dwelling within, are to be known as demons.
Text 7. आहारस्त्वपि सर्वस्य त्रिविधो भवति प्रियः यज्ञस्तपस्तथा दानं तेषां भेदम् इमां शृणु.
Even the food each person prefers is of three kinds according to the three modes of material nature. The same is true of sacrifices, austerities, and charities. Now here are the distinctions between them.
Text 8. आयुः सत्त्वबलारोग्य सुखप्रीतिविवर्धनः रस्या स्निग्धा स्थिरा हृदया आहार सात्विकप्रियाः.
Foods dear to those in the mode of goodness increase the duration of life, purify one's existence, and give strength, health, happiness, and satisfaction. Such foods are juicy, fatty, wholesome, and pleasing to the heart.
Text 9. कट्वं लवणातुष्ण तीक्ष्णरुक्षविदाहिनः आहारा राजसस्येष्टा दुःखशोकामयप्रदाः.
Foods that are too bitter, too sour, salty, hot, pungent, dry, and burning are dear to those in the mode of passion. Such food cause distress, misery, and disease.
Text 10. यात्यामं गतरसं पूतिपर्युषितं च यत् उच्छिष्टम् अपि चामेद्यं भोजनं तामसप्रियम्.
Food prepared more than 3 hours before being eaten, food that is tasteless, decomposed and putrid, and food consisting of remnants and untouchable things is dear to those in the mode of darkness.
Text 11. अफलाकाङ्क्षिभिर्यज्ञो विधिदिष्टो य इज्यते यष्टव्यमेवेति मनः समाधाय स सात्विकः.
Of sacrifices, the sacrifice performed according to the directions of Scripture as a matter of duty by those who desire no reward is of the nature of goodness.
Text 12. अभिसन्धाय तु फलं दम्भार्थम् अपि चैव यत् इज्यते भरतश्रेष्ठ तं यज्ञं विद्धि राजसम्.
But the sacrifice performed for some material benefit or for the sake of pride, O chief of Bharatas, you should know to be in the mode of passion.
Text 13. विधिहीनम् अश्रुष्टान्नं मन्त्रहीनम् अदक्षिणं श्रद्धाविरहितं यज्ञं तामसं परिचक्षते.
Any sacrifice performed without the regard of the directions of Scripture, without distribution of prasadam, spiritual food, without chanting of the Vedic hymns and remunerations to the priest, and without faith, is considered to be in the mode of ignorance.
Text 14. देवद्विज गुरुप्राज्ञ पूजनं शौचमार्जवं ब्रह्मचर्यम् अहिंसा च शारीरं तप उच्यते.
Austerities of the body consists of worship of the Supreme Lord, the Brahmanas, the spiritual master and superiors, like the father and mother, and in cleanliness, simplicity, celibacy, and non-violence.
Text 15. अनुद्वेगकरं वाक्यं सत्यं प्रियहितं च यत् स्वाध्यायाभ्यसनं चैव वाङ्मयं तप उच्यते.
Austerity of speech consists in speaking words that are truthful, pleasing, beneficial, and not agitating to others, and also in regularly reciting Vedic literature.
Text 16. मनप्रसाद सौम्यत्वं मौनमात्मविनिग्रहः भावसंशुद्धिरित्येतत् तपोमानसमुच्यते.
The satisfaction, simplicity, gravity, self-control and purification of one existence are the austerities of the mind.
Text 17. श्रद्धया परया तप्तं तपस्तत्त्रिविधं नरैः अफलाकाङ्क्षिभिर्युक्तैः सात्विकं परिचक्षते.
This threefold austerity, performed with transcendental faith by men not expecting material benefit, but engaged only for the sake of the Supreme, is called austerity in goodness.
Text 18. सत्कारमानपूजार्थं तपोदम्भेन चैव यत् क्रियते तत् इह प्रोक्तं राजसं चलम् अध्रुवम्.
Penance performed out of pride and for the sake of gaining respect, honor, and worship is said to be in the mode of passion. It is neither stable nor permanent.
Text 19. मूढग्राहेणात्मनो यत् पीडया क्रियते तपः परस्योत्सादनार्थं वा तत्तामसम् उदारतम्.
Penance performed out of foolishness, with self-torture, or to destroy, or to injure others, is said to be in the mode of ignorance.
Text 20. दातव्यम् इति यद्दानं दीयतेऽनुपकारिणे देशे काले च पात्रे च तद्दानं सात्विकं स्मृतम्.
Charity given out of duty, without expectation of return, at a proper time and place, and to a worthy person, is considered to be in the mode of goodness.
Text 21. Yattu pratyupakarartham phalam uddishya va punaha diyate cha pariklishtam taddanam rajasam smritam.
But charity performed with the expectation of some return, or with a desire for fruitive results, or in a grudging mood, is said to be charity in the mode of passion.
Text 22. Adeshakale yaddanam apatrebhyascha diyate asatkrutam avagnatam tattamasam udharatam.
And charity performed at an impure place, at an improper time to unworthy persons, or without proper attention and respect, is said to be in the mode of ignorance.
Text 23. Om Tat Saditi Nirdesho Brahmanastrividha Smritaha Brahmanastena Vedascha Yagyascha Vihita Pura.
From the beginning of creation, the three words Om Tat Sat were used to indicate the supreme absolute truth. These three symbolic representations were used by Brahmanas while chanting the hymns of the Vedas and during the sacrifices for the satisfaction of the Supreme.
Text 24. तस्मादोमित्युदाहृत्य यज्ञदानतपक्रियाः प्रवर्तन्ते विधानोक्ताः सततं ब्रह्मवादिनाम्.
Therefore, transcendentalists undertaking performances of sacrifice, charity, and penance in accordance with spiritual regulations begin always with Om to obtain the Supreme.
Text 25. तदित्यनभिसन्धाय फलं यज्ञतपक्रियाः दानक्रियश्च विविधाः क्रियन्ते मोक्षकाङ्क्षिभिः.
Without desiring fruitive results, one should perform various kinds of sacrifice, penance, and charity with the word tat. The purpose of such transcendental activities is to get free from material entanglement.
Text 26 and 27. सद्भावे साधुभावे च सद् इत्येतत् प्रयुज्यते प्रशस्ते कर्मणि तथा सत् इति चोच्यते कर्म चैव तदार्थीयं सद् इत्येवाभिधीयते.
The absolute truth is the objective of devotional sacrifice, and it is indicated by the word sat. The performer of such sacrifice is also called sat, as are all the works of sacrifice, penance, and charity, which, to the absolute nature, are performed to please the Supreme Person, O son of Pritha.
Text 28. अश्रद्धया हुतं दत्तं तपस्तप्तं कृतं च यत् असत् इत्युच्यते पार्थ न च तत्प्रेत्य नो इह.
Anything done as sacrifice, charity, or penance without the faith in the Supreme, O son of Pritha, is impermanent. It is called asat, and it is useless both in this life and the next.
ॐ तत्सत् इति श्रीमद्भगवद्गीतासूपनिषत्सु ब्रह्मविद्यायां योगशास्त्रे श्रीकृष्णार्जुनसंवादे श्रद्धात्रयविभागयोगो नाम सप्तदशोऽध्यायः. Thank you, Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Hare
both
Krishna.
of you. Thank you, Leela Vilasini. Thank you. Very nicely recited the English translations. And Deva Gaurangi, that was a masterclass in Sanskrit pronunciation. Thank you so much. Very
Thank you,
nice.
Prabhuji. Whatever I know, I'm also learning from you all the time. Thank you so much. You teach me so nicely. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much. So nice. Okay, so let's go to the verse today. Let me just quickly see that. So Hare Krishna, we are now starting a new chapter today. chapter 17. We're very, very quickly getting towards the end of the Bhagavad Gita. So exciting times. So chapter 17, and we're on the first verse today. Wait a second, I haven't shared it yet. Okay. So what we'll do, normally I normally just basically go through the revision or like the overview of the chapter so far. But today, because it is the first verse of this chapter, we will just actually do an overview of the whole chapter, and then move on like that. So we just do the chapter summary. So the chapters go like this: text 1 to 7 that speaks about the modes determine one's faith. The first chapter, text 1 will be the question from Arjun, and then the Lord will answer, saying that the modes determine one's faith and one's worship. Then 8 to 10 will discuss foods in the different modes. 11 to 13 we'll talk about sacrifices in the different modes. 14 to 19 speaks about austerity in the different modes. 20 to 22 discuss about charity in different modes. 23 to 28, the last section, is the conclusion of Om Tat Sat. So all that will be discussed in a lot of detail. So before we dive into this this chapter, maybe it's a good thing to maybe just get an overview of this particular section of the Bhagavatam. So as we know, Bhagavatam roughly is divided, it's 18 chapters, but divided into 3. So divided into 3, like 6 chapters each. So what are the first 6 chapters? Can anybody tell me?
Karma Yoga, Prabhuji?
Karma Yoga, exactly. Yes, thank you. Oops, 1 second, what happened there? Yeah, Karma Yoga. And the next 6?
Bhakti Yoga.
Bhakti Yoga, exactly. And the last 6?
Jnana
So
Yoga.
we're right now we are sort of deep into the Jnana Yoga section. And if you want to just take like a quick string view of these and how the verses are progressing, so we can take the 13th chapter, which is the first chapter of the Jnana Yoga, and the seed verse of that chapter is verse 22. Anybody know that verse? 13:22. The Purusha Prakriti Stohi Bhunkta Prakriti Jan Gunan Karanam Guna Sangasya Sat Asat Yoni Janmasu. So in that verse, the Lord is saying that the material living entity in the material world follows the method of the way of life, and it tries to enjoy the 3 modes of nature. And this is why he meets with good and evil amongst various species. So that's the time he's mentioning the 3 modes of nature, and he's saying that literally our result of whatever we do is due to our association with these modes. So that's from that verse on. Then chapter 14, which is entitled, anybody?
Nature
Modes of material nature.
Modes of material nature, exactly. So 3 modes of, so you can imagine, so from that seed verse of 13, in chapter 14, Krishna gives us a full description of the 3 modes of material nature, because in 13:22 it says it's because of association with the material nature. Then it gives us full chapter about the modes, and then it basically saying that we've got that seed in chapter 22 rather, 13:22, and then that seed is nourished by these modes, and then that seed grows into a big banyan tree, right? And that we hear in the chapter 15. Chapter 15, the first verse, as we know, talks about this analogy of the banyan tree. So from there, then we went to the 16th chapter, where the 16th chapter spoke about, I suppose you could say, the 2 ends of the banyan tree. So the root end, which is the top, of the banyan tree, material banyan tree, it speaks about the divine personalities. And the branches, the lower, the leaves and the branches and the twigs, that end speaks about the demoniac nature. So that's how 16 is connected. So chapter 16 spoke about the divine nature in the beginning, the first 3 verses, and then the rest of the chapter, it spoke about the demoniac nature. So now in the 17th chapter, Arjuna asking a very pertinent question. He says, Krishna, you told me about the divine, you told me about the demoniac. But what about people in between who are neither divine nor demoniac? What about them? So this is, and then Krishna, and Arjuna particularly asks Krishna to explain this, not in terms of generality, but in terms of the modes of nature. That's in his question, you will see in a minute. So then the rest of the chapter, Krishna then explains various activities in different modes, beginning with faith. So we'll now go into today's verse. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Arjuna Vacha. Ye Shastra Vidim Ustrijya Yajante Shraddhayanvita Tasham Nishtatuka Krishna Sattvam Aho Rajastamaha. Tesham Nishtatuka Krishna Sattvam Aho Rajastamaha. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Arjuna inquired, O Krishna, what is the situation of those who do not follow the principles of scripture, but worship according to their own imagination? Are they in goodness, in passion, or in ignorance? Okay. So, yeah. So he's asking now, what about the people in between? Asking on our behalf, isn't it? So chapter 16 establishes that the faithful followers of the divine and who are faithless are demoniac. But now, what about the people in between? So we'll read what Prabhupada says in the purport. This verse, of course, is just a question. So we will hopefully I'll not try and dwell too much into Krishna's answers, because that will be covered in the following verses. But we'll just try and cover in general. So purport, let's see who's there. I've got Anita Mataji, Anita Gore. If you're able to unmute yourself to read the purport, please.
Oh yeah, sure. In the 4th chapter, 39th verse, it is said that a person faithful to a particular type of worship gradually becomes elevated to the stage of knowledge and attains the highest perfectional stage of peace and prosperity. In the 16th chapter, it is concluded that one who does not follow the principles laid down in the scriptures is called the Asura, demon, and one who follows the scriptural injunction faithfully is called a Deva or demigod. Now, if one with faith follows some rules which are not mentioned in the scriptural injunctions, what is his position? This doubt of Arjuna is to be cleared by Krishna. Are those who create some sort of God by selecting a human being and placing their faith in him, worshipping in goodness, passion, or ignorance? Do such person attain the perfectional stage of life? Is it possible for them to be situated in real knowledge and elevate themselves to the highest perfectional stage? Or do those who do not follow the rules and regulations of the scriptures, but who have faith in something and worship gods and demigods, and men attain success in their effort? Arjuna is putting these questions to Krishna.
Thank you so much, Anita Mataji. Very nicely read. Thank you. Om Prajnanati Mirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Charu Swami Niti Namine. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pacharine Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. So, as usual, let's pick up some of the main points of the purport. The Prabhupada starts off with this reminder about the previous verses. So he says in the 4th chapter, 39th verse, it is said that a person faithful to a particular type of worship gradually becomes elevated in the stage of knowledge and attains the highest perfectional stage of peace and prosperity. So we just remind ourselves about that particular verse, 439. It goes, Sardava labate jnanam tatpara.
How is it possible, Raymond? I don't understand it.
Sorry, I'll start again. Shraddhava labate jnanam tatpara samyatendriyaha jnanam labva param santim achire nadigacchati. So, Shraddhavan actually. It's Shraddhavan, but what happens in Sanskrit is if sometimes the N will change to the first letter of the next word, so Sajavav, because when you are reciting it, that na is almost not sounded. So Shraddhavan labate. So one who has faith, he attains what? Labate means attains. What does he attain? Gyan, he attains knowledge. One who has faith is that he attains knowledge. And then what does he attain? Param Shantim Achirena Agachati. So Achirena means very quickly, very soon. So Param Shantim, he attains peace. Prabhupada confirms that in there. A faithful man who is dedicated to the transcendental knowledge and who subdues his senses is eligible to achieve such knowledge. And having achieved it, he quickly attains the supreme will be the theme throughout this chapter. And then Prabhupada talks about the 16th chapter. Let's look at the purport of this particular text, 439. Prabhupada says, such knowledge in Krishna consciousness can be achieved by a faithful person who believes firmly in Krishna. One is called a faithful man who thinks that simply by acting in Krishna consciousness, he can attain the highest perfection. This faith is attained by the discharge of devotional service and by chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. One cleanses one's heart of all material dirt. Over and above this, one should control the senses. A person who is faithful to Krishna and who controls the senses can easily attain the perfection in the knowledge of Krishna consciousness without delay. So very, very reassuring. So we all have so much dirt accumulated in our hearts from millions and millions of different lifetimes. But all that can be eradicated just by this process, just by chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra and controlling our senses. These two things we need to do, and that way we are able to completely cleanse ourselves of all the dirt. Cheto Darpana Marjanam, that's the very first verse of the Shikshashram. Cheto Darpana Marjanam Bhavamahadavagni Nirvapanam Shriya Kairava Chandrika Vitaranam Vidyavadu Jivanam Anandam buddhivardhanam Patipadam purnameta swadanam Sarvatma snapanam param vijayate Shri Krishna Sankirtanam. Shri Krishna Sankirtanam. So chanting the names of names of the Lord, Hare Krishna Mahamantra, cleanses the heart and also douses the fire, the blazing fire of the material world, and gives us the knowledge. The ocean of knowledge increases. Vidya Vadu Jivanam, the knowledge comes with it. This is what this particular verse 439 is talking about. So, moving on, Prabhupada then continues. In the 16th chapter, it is concluded that one who does not follow the principles laid down in the scriptures is called an asura, demon. And the one who follows the scriptural injunctions faithfully is called a deva or demigod. So these are the last, not the last two, I think. Yeah, I think the last two, yes, the last two verses of the 16th chapter. I know that we now into the Prabhu did it over the last 2 days, but we'll again just remind ourselves of these two. 1623, Ya Shastra Vidim Usrijya Vartate Kamakarata Na Sa Siddhim Avapnoti Na Sukham Na Param Gatim. He who discards scriptural injunctions and acts according to his own whims attains neither perfection nor happiness nor the supreme destination. And then in 24, he says, Tasma Shashram Paramanam Te Karya Vyavestitau Yatva Shastra Vidanoktum Karma Kartum Ihar Asi. One should therefore understand what is duty and what is not duty by the regulation of the scriptures. Knowing such rules and regulations, one should act so that he may gradually be elevated. So you see, Krishna is talking about scriptures and regulations and all that. So this is why the Arjuna has picked up that question, saying, yeah, you're speaking about all the scriptures and regulations. What about somebody who doesn't follow the scriptures? So we quickly have a look at this 23. I've just put a part of the purport there. Maybe you want to read that? Go, yeah. Can you get it from here? Do you want?
Everyone is expected to follow these rules and regulations. If one does not follow them and act whimsically according to his lust, greed, and desire, then he never will be perfect in his life. In other words, a man may theoretically know all these things, but if he does not apply them in his own life, then he is to be known as the lowest of mankind. In the human form of life, a living entity is expected to be sane and to follow the regulations given for elevating his life to the highest platform. But if he does not allow them, then he degrades.
He doesn't follow them.
Yeah, sorry. But if he does not follow them, then he degrades himself. But even if he follows the rules and regulations and moral principles and ultimately does not come to the stage of understanding the Supreme Lord, then all his knowledge becomes spoiled.
So this is very, very pertinent because one can follow all the rules and regulations to the T, but if he doesn't come to understanding the Supreme Lord, then all the knowledge is spoiled. And this very nicely Krishna explains in Srimad Bhagavatam, 1st canto, 2nd chapter, text 8. Dharma svanustita pumsa vishvaksena kathasuya notpadya yadi ratim shrama eva hi kevalam. Shrama we all know. Shrama means with efforts. Shrama eva hi kevalam. That's only useless labor, Krishna says. So one who's following, doing all these duties properly, but Vishvakshena Kathasuya. Vishvakshena is one of the other name, one of the names of the Lord. So if you don't have a taste, Kathasuya, if you don't have the taste for hearing, you can do all the things perfectly, but if you don't have the taste of hearing the Katha of the Lord, if it does not Uttapadye, if it doesn't appear in your heart, Yadi, Ratim, the taste, then is Shrama Evahi Kevalam. Moving on to the purport. Prabhupada says, So Krishna, so the question is asked here. This is Arjuna's questions. Are those who create some sort of God by selecting a human being and placing their faith in him, worshipping him in goodness, passion, or ignorance? Which one is it? Goodness, passion, or ignorance? Do such persons attain the perfection of stage of life? So interesting concept here, selecting a human being and placing their faith in him. So I'm going to share a picture here. And before I share it, I'll tell you the first person who answers who the person is in the picture. Well, I can't give a prize because we're on Zoom. But well, so let's see who's the first one to recognize the person in this picture. It's not a very good picture, I admit it.
Sachin Tendulkar.
No,
Gavaskar.
Gavaskar.
Is Mahendra Dhoni?
Sachin Tendulkar.
Is
Gavaskar.
Sunil Gavaskar.
No, Sachin.
It's Mahendra Dhoni.
Sachin.
Divya Gaurangi Das.
Sachin.
Hare Krishna.
Dhoni.
Dhoni.
Many of you also. Sachin Tendulkar. There's a shadow in his face that doesn't come up properly. But it's somewhere in Bihar.
Sachin.
Is Mahendra Dhoni?
No, Sachin.
Sachin. It is Sachin. It's Sachin. So it's somewhere in Bihar. A rich person actually has made a temple of Sachin Tendulkar. Because, they call him the god of cricket. So here, you see, in that temple, a lot of people go there, and this pujari, you can see, is doing arti and everything. There's Sachin on the altar, his picture, and they are all really, they're actually worshipping him. So like this, there are many times. Okay, here, this is another one. This is actually, the murti you can't recognize, what is supposed to be Mahatma Gandhi. So again, he was not a god, he was a human being. But there he is, people are actually worshipping him, like in a temple. There's actually a temple where Gandhi is worshipped, and this temple is somewhere in Odisha. And then here, this one is a recent one, a temple in Rajkot where Modi is worshipped. So you see, people do have this. These are the kind of things, people who are affected by different kind of modes, they have all these different things that they will worship. Instead of worshiping the Supreme Lord, which is what we're supposed to do, they things and they start worshiping different kinds of personalities. So the question is asking, are they in mood, goodness, passion, or ignorance? So answer we will not go to. Krishna will give the answer. So, but it's about faith. They have some kind of faith in these personalities, so they start to worship these people. So when one doesn't base his faith in Shastric injunctions, then his faith becomes some kind of sort of mental concoction. It's just it's the product of the modes working on him, right? So there was, I've shared this here before, but I'll just repeat it just because I remembered it when I was making my notes. There's once in the Radha Gopinath temple in Sydney, Srila Prabhupada was giving a lecture, and one person got up in between. Prabhupada was talking about the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and this person got up and he said, I don't think Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. I think Meher Baba is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So Meher Baba, I didn't even know who Meher Baba was, but later on I did some research. So Meher Baba actually was around. Actually, he was about in the same period that Srila Prabhupada was there, and he at one point he was a normal person, playing cricket. He was captain of the cricket team in school, doing everything normally. But when he was about 18, 19 years old, he came in contact with some lady, some spiritual lady, or some Mataji who put her hand on his head, and something happened, some transformation happened. And he then started to lose interest in all material things, and he started to preach. He was preaching mainly Mayavad, really. He was not preaching Krishna consciousness. But then eventually, he did get a lot of knowledge somehow, and people started to respect him, and his followers started to believe that he was God. So he didn't stop them. He let them believe that he was God. And this went on for a long time. And then at one point, he took mourn. So for 16 odd years, he didn't speak at all. So Prabhupada was saying, in his one time, he was saying that with people like that, if they are actually observing silence, then how can they preach? The idea for the preacher is, for an acharya, you have to preach and increase your disciples and take people back to Godhead. But no, he wasn't even speaking for a long time. He just used to use sign languages like that. Anyway, but then in the end, when he left his body, he said, "Please don't forget that I am God." That was his parting words. So, so this person has set up and challenged Prabhupada that I don't think Krishna is God. I think Meher Baba is God. So Prabhupada at that time, he looked at the altar and he said, "Krishna is so beautiful. He's so wonderful." He says he lifted, and he did his finger like this. He says he lifted the Govardhan hill on his left finger for 7 days. And he left his finger in the air like this while he was studying the deities. Then he looked back at this person and he said, "You can have Meher Baba. We will keep Krishna." And then as at the end of the program, when Prabhupada was leaving the auditorium, he stopped near that person and said, "Please be careful. Don't be misled. Don't be misled. Krishna is very beautiful and you can know him." Like that, very compassionately. So like this, so people have, and then even now you have many people in India following different people who, who they think they are God. So these things are there. We can't do much about it. So, yeah. And then, of course, in Bhagavatam, there's a story about Paundrak. We all know about that. Paundrak, even in Krishna's time. Forget about nowadays. Even in Krishna's time, you had Paundrak, who believed that he was Vasudev, and he started to challenge Krishna. And we all know what happened to him. So yes, so these things, there's a propensity where people will do this. Next, Prabhupada says, and that Prabhupada says, "Do those who do not follow the rules and regulations of scriptures, but who have faith in something and worship gods and demigods and men attain success in their effort." So again, talking about faith, these people have faith in different things. So I was asking what really happens to them. As I say, Krishna will answer in the following verses. But just like many, if you look at the faith, just men who don't follow scriptures, we know many people actually, many friends of ours, maybe family members who may not follow scriptures, but they're still good people. They're sattvic, right? They live a good life. They're kind. Maybe they do a lot of charity or help people, but they don't follow scriptures. So see, it's very pertinent. So what happens with those kind of people, right? Plus, we also many people may call themselves atheists, but if you think about it, even atheists would need to have faith, right? Atheists would need to have faith that there is no God. That is their faith. So either way, you need to have faith. Most people, including myself, misplaced faith before we came in touch with devotees. We had a lot of faith that the material nature will give us happiness. We tried this, that, and everything, all the time trying to become happy in the material world. So we had faith that this nature will give us somehow happiness. Misplaced faith. But that faith will gradually become less as non-devotees. For example, in my case, it was 100% faith in something. My material life will be one day successful, and I'll be happy. But that faith gradually gets lower as your faith in Krishna increases. So as your faith in the Lord increases, proportionately, the quotient of your material faith decreases. So that's good. So that faith, so our faith in God cannot be measured by any material instruments, right? It can only be measured by ourselves, by our own experience. We all know where we were 5-10 years ago and where we are now. So that which nobody can measure, it's only us. We can know what is happening. And faith, when you talk about faith, imagine the faith that all these early devotees had in Srila Prabhupada. It was just absolutely amazing, right? These people, first of all, and that time in America, the culture, it was a counterculture where the youngsters were rebelling against not just the system in America, but also they were rebelling against their parents and anybody older. They were saying anybody over 25 or 30, they were considered to be old school and all that. So in the midst of all that, they suddenly started to have faith in Prabhupada. Just because of Prabhupada was speaking from the bottom of his heart, they realized he's not after any money, he's after nothing. He just wants to, he's a well-wisher. So all these youngsters, they were all in bad habits and everything. And they gave up their bad habits and they started to serve this old Indian gentleman who really wasn't giving them anything material. Prabhupada didn't have anything to give them materially, right? In fact, they all came from good families, actually. Right? We have many examples of devotees who came from wealthy families, and they gave up everything and lived with Prabhupada in austere conditions. Especially when they went to India, they were in very, very foreign conditions and not living in hotels and things. They were living in very, very sort of low standard accommodation. But they carried on doing this. They had this because they had the faith, amazing amount of faith. Even in Europe, I know one time somebody was in a lecture talking about Sachinanda Maharaj. Sachinanda Maharaj, when he joined at that time, of course, the movement was very, very young. And they all lived together in a temple somewhere in Germany. And they couldn't even afford to heat the place. Forget about heating the place. They couldn't even afford to heat the water because there was no money. So they would have cold showers. So imagine in the winter in Germany, in the middle of the winter, outside the temperature must be -10, something like that. And these devotees are having showers. So normally, before they met Prabhupada, they would not have showers. But because, of course, Prabhupada said, no, you must cleanse yourself in the morning. So they all used to line up and have showers. And Sachinanda Maharaj was saying that he had, at that time, he had like some kind of a circulation condition problem. And when he used to come out of the shower, he used to be all blue. That's how cold it was, the shower. But this is the kind of austerity they all went through purely because they had faith in Srila Prabhupada. So, yeah, coming back to devotional scriptures. So like we're saying, it's an internal transformation. It is not something external. You can put on a tilak, you can put on dhoti kurta or whatever, but that doesn't make you a devotee. The transformation has to be internal. And it is scriptures that give us that transformation. Eventually the scriptures that we learn through our acharyas, through our spiritual mentors. And I'll finish with this particular verse from Srimad Bhagavatam, 5th canto 11, talks about the scriptures and how it transforms lives. So, Tadvag Visargo Janataga Viplavo Yasmin Patishlo Kamabhadavatyati Namanyanantasya Yashon Kitaniyat Shunvanti Gayanti Gunanti Sadhava. On the other hand, so before this verse, he talks about people, about scriptures that don't glorify the Lord. But here he says, on the other hand, the literature which is full of descriptions of the transcendental glories of the name, fame, forms, pastimes, etc., of the unlimited Supreme Lord is a different creation, full of transcendental words directed toward bringing about a revolution in the impious lives of this world's misdirected civilization. Such transcendental literature, even though imperfectly composed, are heard, sung, and accepted by purified men who are thoroughly honest. So impious lives of this world's misdirected civilization, that applies to all of us. All of us have been misdirected. by various things, and finally we got some direction in the books, especially the purports of Srila Prabhupada. So devotees, I will stop there and invite any questions, comments,
Hare Krishna.
corrections.
Hare
Hare Krishna.
In the purport, the second last sentence,
Yeah.
ask this question, please. Why is the word God in plurals, gods, as in, I mean, I've always been under the impression that God is singular, God is one.
Yeah.
And the phrase saying, and worship gods.
Yeah. So there you see, because we're talking about those who do not follow rules and regulations of Scripture. See, if you follow rules and regulations of Scripture, then Santosh Mataji, you would worship God, and then that God will be not just singular, that God will be with the capital G, right? You notice that God that's written in the purport with a small g. So when there's a small g, it refers to demigods. Demigods or some personality where somebody has just made him God, like that. That's why gods. There are many gods like that.
I see, because there's also mention of and worship gods and demigods.
Yes, exactly. So it's a gods, because like gods we saw examples of Sachin Tendulkar as God. So there are gods like that who are not demigods actually, but who are human gods. You know what I mean?
Yes, thank you very much for that explanation, Prabhuji. And just one more point, if I may make one more point, please.
Yes, please.
You mentioned Sattvic, those who don't follow rules and regulations, but they're in the Sattvic group. What mode would these Sattvic, what mode are they in, the Sattvic group?
So Sattvic literally is goodness. So you see, you have mode of goodness, passion, ignorance. In Sanskrit is Sattva, Rajas, and Tamas. So Sattva is Sattvic.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Santosh Mataji.
Yeah.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Dandavat pronounce. My name is Alejandra. You mentioned about this guru gentleman that he posed as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Even when he was dying, he said, let's not forget that I am God. So my question is, if this is also authorized by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, so I'm trying to understand, is this because also Lord Krishna you authorizes it because it's something like it's pleasurable for him? It's like I don't understand it, so I don't know if you can help me to understand.
Okay, so yeah. So it's not necessarily authorized by the Lord. Not everything that the demons do authorized by the Lord. The Lord, what happens is basically the Lord is within our heart, Alejandra Mataji, and then the Lord is always trying to direct us to come back to him one way or the other. So depending on what level you are on, for example, if we are in a level of ignorance, the Lord from within the heart will first gradually try and pull us to the passion, and then from passion to goodness, and then from goodness to pure goodness. That is the effort always. But the point is that because of our independence, our limited independence that Krishna has given us, he will never force. That's why we say that sometimes you hear from within your heart some advice. That is a super soul speaking to us. Whether we take the advice or not is up to us. So when this personality is probably saying, look, I am God, then the Lord within himself is probably telling him, look, don't do that. You are not God. But of course, at the time, he's too puffed up. All his supporters, hundreds and thousands of them, are actually, he did have a lot of supporters, this particular personality, Meher Baba. He had also international centers. I know there was a center here in Kensington, maybe still existing. So like these people have a lot of following, because there are a lot of fools. A lot of people want to be cheated by cheaters. This is one of the propensities of human being, isn't it? One of our 4 defects. So the point is that it is not necessarily sanctioned by the Lord, but it is allowed, because the Lord in our heart is Upadrashta Anumanta, which means first he will try and give you advice, Upadrashta, but then if you don't agree, then he will let you use your little independence. They say, fine, okay, if you want to declare yourself to be God, then you go ahead. But face the consequences. Does that make sense, Alejandra Mataji?
Yes, Prabhu. Thank you so much. It is almost like Lord Krishna is so merciful that he allows us to commit mistakes, even if they are big mistakes,
Yes.
because we are in the path of learning.
Absolutely. Just like a father would try and instruct his son, don't do this. But if the son, especially when they're teenagers, they don't want to listen. The father was okay, go try, and let him learn by his mistakes, like that.
Gratitude, Prabhu.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Kanta Mataji.
Prabhuji, the first 8 chapters, were they recorded? Can I find them somewhere? I missed them because I joined later.
Yeah. So Kanta Mataji, what happened was that we actually started, because we started this about in March, I think March last year. If it was March, I think, yeah. And we started from chapter 7. We didn't start on the first, because this chapter a day is not something that is only happening here. This is happening internationally, and it's going on throughout the year. So we logged on, and when we started, there were all the world was not a 7th chapter, so we started from 7th chapter. So from 7th chapter onwards, so in the early days, I don't think there was many recording going on, but I think from around later on of chapter 7 or chapter 8, we have been recording them, and some wonderful devotees, like for example, in today, Jyoti Mataji has recorded it, and she will put it on YouTube. And before that, we had who was that lady?
Gata
Mataji was recording those, and so you will go to, if you go to YouTube and you search CHAD, you will see many of these classes there.
Oh, okay, thank you, Prabhu. Just CHAD chat. That will come up.
Yes, Chad.
Only just 7 or 8 chapter, not before then.
Yeah, from 7. Before that, we haven't got them. So in fact, you may find some recording from other groups, but not from this group.
Oh, I don't have the link for the other groups. Okay.
Yeah, so you can just, if Chad doesn't bring it up, then say Bhagavad Gita Chad or something like that. Yeah.
Oh, thank you so much, Prabhuji. Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
And welcome to the group, Makanta Mataji. Thank you. Thank you for joining.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna devotees. So yeah, we're looking forward to carrying on in this chapter. It's again a beautiful chapter. All the chapters are so nice, and this chapter will teach us about things that we are doing, and we'll be able to categorize them. Well, at the end of this chapter, we will know about all the things we do, and we can actually we know whether we're doing it in passion, goodness, or ignorance. So very instructive chapter.
Wonderful class, Prabhuji. Very interesting.
Thank you so much, Kanta Mataji.
Very nicely explained. Very nicely. Just
Thank
wonderful.
you for your encouragement. Thank you.
Hare Krishna, Mukunda-Hari Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Chandra Chaitanya Prabhu.
All glories to your service.
Prabhuji, all glories to your service too.
Prabhuji, I really like your melodious recitation of the first of the Sixtaktakam.
Oh,
Maybe
yes.
we should have one session of Sixtaktakam only.
Oh, yeah, that would be nice. You know what we can do around Gaur Purnima? We can do that.
Yeah, because I know your Guru Maharaj was very fond of that, and he really recited the 8 verses well.
Yes, absolutely. He did many seminars on those. So one of the first seminars I attended with my Guru Maharaj, actually, for maybe 20 years
And
ago.
you reminded me straight away of him. So I said, we should have a session.
Yes, that's true. I think Chandra Chaitanya Prabhu, you were there too in that retreat.
Yes, I was. I think so. Yes.
That's right.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you, Hare Krishna. Thank you so much for being there always. Hare Krishna. Deepak Prabhu, thank you so much for your encouragement. Thank you. Great. I think if everybody else is satisfied, we will we'll call it a day. Please look after yourselves. Take care. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Mataji and everybody else.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
Prabhuji.
Krishna.
Thank you for wonderful class.
Umiraben, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Leela Purushottam Prabhu, are you there? Hare Krishna. I can see you now. Nice to have your darshan, Prabhu. You are muted.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jyoti Mataji. Thank you so much for your wonderful service, Mataji.
Thank you, Hare Krishna.